Hello everybody, Maven here, and today I wanted to share my opinion for the god rolls for the 6 new / returning dawning weapons, as well as some tips to farm them as fast as possible. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to give you suggestions like maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. Nope, I'm going to cut right to the chase and tell you what I'm personally doing to farm these weapons as quick as possible. So I'll leave some timestamps down below for every weapon god roll, but first let's go over how to get them. Hope you enjoy. This video is sponsored by Advanced GG, the only clinically proven gaming supplement shown to improve your gaming performance. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off your order. Link down below. Thank you. Alright, let's begin. So step number 1 before doing any of the dawning stuff is to equip the dawning ship. You might already have this from last year. If not, then I'm sure there's a way you can get it from Ava. Having the ship will give you more dawning spirit drops. Step number 2 is to masterwork your oven. To do this, you need to make at least one of every cookie. Masterworking your oven will reduce the cost of essence to bake a cookie from 15 to 10, which you have to do if you're trying to farm as efficiently as possible. Step 3. Get essence. Now, you can do the first contact mission farm that people are talking about, but do yourself a favor and just do Shattered Throne. It's faster. So get the boss checkpoint, invite a friend, and do checkpoint farming. What you're seeing in the gameplay is my perspective as the farmer, but I got someone else doing the checkpoint swap, and I'll let you know what to do for both. So if you're the checkpoint person, you're going to want to wipe on this encounter so you can save the checkpoint on your character. Your farm partner, who's actually going to beat the encounter, joins on you. Then you leave to a different character and join back on them. The encounter is completed, you both get your loot, then you leave and swap back to your character that has the checkpoint saved. The farmer joins on you, you leave and join back on your farm character, rinse and repeat. And if you're the farming person, I highly recommend being on Prismatic Titan with the Synthoceps, whether it be the exotic class item or real Synthos, it doesn't matter, because one consecration paired with Weaken from the concussive reload artifact mod along with an aerial denial grenade launcher to hit all 3 knights will indeed nuke all 3 of them in a single slam. Then just clean up the ads so they don't shoot you in the booty, and then nuke the boss with Wardcliff Coil because she's coded as a vehicle and takes 1,000,000 damage from it. And that's about it. Do this farm for an hour and you can get several hundreds of dawning essence. Step 4, you need ingredients. And for this, Breakneck is an option, but I think Shirochi might be a little bit faster. So go to the wish wall, put in this Shirochi code. I know it's tedious, but it's worth it to have the CP for the entire week. Use the Graviton Lance and nuke the piles of thralls and then just wipe with a grenade launcher, rinse and repeat. Doing this farm will give you loads of Taken Butter and Null Taste, which will allow you to craft dark chocolate motes for Jermaine the Drifter. And since you probably have the dawning ship equipped, doing this farm will also get you tons of dawning spirits as well. Then just go spam your gifts at the Drifter and you'll get a few gifts in return, as well as a bunch of dawning spirit, and then return to Space Grandma. And before doing anything here at Grandma, purchase the upgrades that say that your weapons can drop with an additional perk in the left column and in the right column, as well as the upgrade to be able to focus them. And there you have it, the entire dawning farm loop in a nutshell. It's quick and easy from Shattered Throne to Shirochi and back. And in just a couple hours, you can focus just about a dozen things, or you can unlock the engram focusing and focus even more things if you aren't looking for anything in specific. Now, what are the god rolls for the dawning weapons? Well, we're going to kick things off with the Avalanche 450 RPM Solar Machine Gun. In the left column, it gets auto-loading holster, subsistence, dynamic sway reduction, rewind rounds, closing time, dragonfly, and heel clip. In the right column, it gets incandescent, vorpal weapon, cascade point, target lock, firing line, golden tricorn, and collective action. Now, I would not recommend chasing after the Avalanche, and I'll tell you why. So machine guns are not meant for DPS, and even if they were, this thing doesn't get any insanely cracked damage rolls. This thing is not great for PvP because the hammerhead is way better with 4 times the charm and killing tally, and it's still very farmable. Looking at this thing, it's meant for ad clear as machine guns typically are, and the best roll it can get for that is subsistence and incandescent, which is an extremely good roll for ad clear. Subsistence keeps that mag going for a super long time, so you can just mow down ads, so don't fall for the auto-loading holster bait. Dragonfly is fine, but the best machine guns are the best when they have a means of cheesing the need to reload because machine guns reload slow. So with that said, heel clip is off the table. But if the subsistence incandescent roll is so good, why shouldn't you farm the Avalanche? Well, because the unwavering duty machine gun from Trials is the same exact RPM, element, and even gun model, just reskinned, and it gets the same exact roll, but it's better because the Avalanche has an atrocious inventory inventory size stat of 40. It used to be worse, but Bungie buffed it because it was so bad, whereas the Unwavering Duty has an amazing inventory size stat of 58, one of the best in the game right behind the Marcato, so it can hold way more ammo. And I've used it in Grandmaster Nightfalls. This thing is a unit at AdClear, and it's still obtainable from trials, and to those who complain, well, I'm not good at PvP, well, that's not an excuse because you don't have to be good. You still get reputation just for completing matches. You don't have to win, therefore you can still focus on wavering duties. I do believe Subsistence Incandescent is the best possible role an AdClear machine gun can get, so farm the Avalanche if you love machine guns, but hate trials more than anything in the world. Moving on to the Mistral Lift 3 Burst Linear Fusion Rifle, which is the only new weapon added in this year's Dawning. In the left column, it gets Withering Gaze, Envious Arsenal, Clown Cartridge, Envious Assassin, Keep Away, Moving Target, and Reconstruction. In the right column, it gets Bait and Switch, High Ground, Firing Line, Precision Instrument, Frenzy, High Impact Reserves, and Vorpal Weapon. Now, something I say in almost every legendary weapon review video I do is that the way to determine a weapon's value is to notice what's unique about it, and this one does a few unique things. And I do believe these things really raise its value. First of all, it's the first ever linear to get Reconstruction with Bait and Switch together, and that's an incredibly good role for burst DPS for something like a GM. You're just running around, pecking stuff with your primary, and when it's time to burst down a champion or mini boss, you whip this baby out and it has 14 to 16 bullets in the magazine ready to go. You proc Bait and Switch with that and you'll melt anything in your way. And for dungeon or raid boss DPS, you got Envious Arsenal in this thing, which makes for really good damage rotations against precision based bosses when paired along with something like Izanagi's Burden, for example. You'll just never have to reload it. I still don't think it'll be better than something like Whisper of the Worm, but who's to say we might get artifact mods in the future episode that puts linear fusions back on the radar. It's bound to happen at some point. So when and if that happens, the Mistral Lift will be the meta. So you better be ready for that. And the last perk I wanted to mention is Withering Gaze, which might be good for GMs or other difficult content farms because of the free weaken it applies that benefits your whole fire team. Having that 15% debuff on top of a 30% buff from Bait and Switch can really output some damage, albeit it does take a bit of setup and some time, but I did just want to throw it out there. I definitely recommend farming this weapon for those aforementioned roles though. Next up, we get the Zephyr Adaptive Frame Sword, which is the worst frame a sword can get, but I know Timmy will show up in the comments and be like, well, actually, adaptive frames are the best, and then they're going to type out some 2-paragraph lecture. I'm waiting on you, Timmy. Give it to me. So anyways, in the left column gets Duelist Trance, Relentless Strikes, Tireless Blade, Rhyme Stealer, Valiant Charge, Strategist, and Attrition Orbs. In the right column, it gets Cold Steel, Whirlwind Blade, Collective Action, Vorpal Weapon, One for All, Chain Reaction, and Surrounded. This weapon is not worth farming. The Slammer and the Falling Guillotine can already do everything this thing can do, but even better because they're Vortex frames and they also roll with Eager Edge, and this does not. And Eager Edge is the best perk in the game for a sword, so just don't waste your time with this one. So we're just going to skip past that one and move on to the Albedo Wing Aggressive Frame Glaive. Now this one is worth farming. In the left column, it gets Grave Robber, Beacon Rounds, Replenishing Aegis, Eddy Current, Strategist, Closing Time, and Air Trigger. In the right column, it gets Golden Tricorn, Desperate Measures, Demolitionist, Lead from Gold, Close to Melee, Volt Shot, and Collective Action. Now, who here remembers my multiple Triton Vice videos I did? To this day, I still believe that that is one of the most underrated, under-the-radar AdClear builds in the entire game. I've never seen anybody use it, and hardly anyone knows about it, but it's so incredibly strong at what it does. And the origin of that build was based around the Unexpected Resurgence Trials Glaive with Impulse Amplifier and Volt Shot. So you already know that I'm super hyped that we now have a second Volt Shot Glaive in the game to play with, and this one comes with many different options to pair along with Volt Shot. You got Grave Robber and Replenishing Aegis to cheese reloads, Beacon Rounds to make it easier to land shots, Air Trigger to give faster reloads and massively increased reserves, Strategist for bonus class ability energy, and Eddy Current for some lightning fast reloads when amplified and paired along with the Loader mod, as shown in the background gameplay here. I don't have the God roll yet, but Eddy Current with Volt Shot is some insane synergy with those mega fast reloads, and what's so cool about this is that you can run it on any class. The reason we made the Unexpected Resurgence work is because we used Triton Vice and Flow State on Hunter, but I'm on Titan, and you can see that Eddy Current makes our reload fast enough to suffice, and I can't wait to see this thing paired along with Volt Shot. It's going to be disgusting. But I can also see a world in which you run Air Trigger, and luckily I got the Air Trigger Volt Shot God roll, which will go nicely with that Triton Vice build, so I'm going to enhance Air Trigger for Science here, which boosts its reserves even further. So without Air Trigger, with no reserves, at base we can hold 24 ammo, which is already pretty good. Glaives just generally have a really good ammo economy as it is, but when we use enhanced air trigger, we can hold a whopping 32 ammo, which is a ridiculous amount of ammo, especially for an aggressive frame glaive. But typically with my builds, I like to run a single reserve mod because you can typically fit that in there. And with this roll, we can hold 36 ammo with one reserve. I seriously thought the returns would be diminished after already having such a healthy mag size, but I guess I was wrong. So this thing is an ammo machine. So I'd say air trigger or eddy current with volt shot is a pretty solid god roll, or air trigger grave robber with close to melee if you're planning on actually meleeing with the glaive, because that's the best perk that there is for that purpose. Next up, we got the Stay Frosty 450 RPM lightweight frame pulse rifle. In the left column, it gets Rhyme Stealer, Lone Wolf, Encore, Moving Target, Killing Wind, Enlightened Action, and Tunnel Vision. In the right column, it gets Adrenaline Junkie, Desperado, Desperate Measures, Head Seeker, Head Stone, Kill Clip, and Frenzy. Now the Stay Frosty is what I believe to be the second best PvP 450 RPM pulse in the game, right behind the Nightshade, but it may just be taking the top spot now because it now gets the perk Lone Wolf, which has really been making waves in PvP lately because it passively grants you plus 10 aim assist, but 20 when you're not near allies. Pair that with the targeting mod that puts you at 95 aim assist, 100 if you run triple targeting, or a targeting adjuster mod. So it's just going to be incredibly easy to use and hit your shots with. And 450s are really underrated in Crucible as it is, and especially more so with Kill Clip, like this one can get, because it allows you to 2-tap any Resil at a 0.53 TTK, which is really tough to compete with. So yeah, Lone Wolf Kill Clip is my god roll suggestion, but I can also see Killing Wind since it can give you nearly 42 meters of range, which is literally 4 burst range. When it comes to PvE, I wouldn't recommend using a lightweight pulse in general unless it was for champ utility, even though this thing can get Rhyme Stealer and Headstone, which to the casual player might seem appealing, but this roll is bait, this archetype is bait, don't fall for it unless you're a dad. Rhyme Stealer isn't great when you can just run Harvest mods for Frost Armor. Stick to things like hand cannons and scouts when it comes to headstone shenanigans. This is definitely more of a PvP weapon. It's a hot take, I know, but feel free to roast me. And speaking of roasting me, that brings us to the last weapon of the day, the Glacioclasm High Impact Fusion. And I save this one for last because it contains by far the most bias, and I'm sure to trigger someone. Anyways, in the left column, it gets Air Trigger, Envious Assassin, Lone Wolf Overflow, Slide Shot, Subsistence, and Under Pressure. In the right column, it gets Vorpal Weapon, Closing Time, Desperate Measures, Withering Gaze, Controlled Burst, High Impact Reserves, and Reservoir Burst. Now, where do I even begin? Guys, I'm just gonna be blunt when I say that high impact fusions suck. And I know someone is gonna tell me I'm wrong. Someone is gonna tell me they have 24,000 kills on their Glacioclasm or Aaron Till. I get it. There are some high impact fusion supremacists out there. But as a longtime fusion main ever since Destiny 1, I can say from experience that rapid fire frames are just the best, and there's no reason to use any other archetype for both PvE and PvP. The Zealot's Reward can comfortably kill from 18 meters away every time, and yes, high impacts can kill at 20 plus meters away, but it's not worth the incredibly massive trade-off of being a slug. And no, I'm not talking about a Destiny 2 slug shotgun. I'm talking about literal slug, like snails. They're so slow, they're not versatile, and you have to be a bot to use them. With rapid fires, you can slide, you can jump, you can react and basically use them like a shotgun, and you can still map people with them. But on the other hand, there's one thing and one thing only that you can do with high impacts, and that's pre-charge and bot walk at a cover. And for those who haven't used them, you have no idea how punishable that is. It's so easy to outplay that playstyle, and you'll die to shotguns before you finish charging way more often than you'd like to admit. But I will say, when it does come to high impact fusions in PvP, this is literally the best one ever. If you like being a bot, then this is the fusion for you. It gets the fabled under pressure closing time roll that the reissued Zealot's Reward just got, and that's literally the best possible roll a fusion can have. So definitely chase this if you like high impacts. Now when it comes to PvE, yes, it does get some nasty reservoir burst combos like Subsistence, Slide Shot, Overflow, and Envious Assassin, and it does get Withering Gaze for GM tech. It does get Controlled Burst for DPS, but DPS is precisely the issue with high impacts. Here's a snippet from the Xbox user 123's DPS spreadsheet that some of you might remember from the Fusion Rifle section. And on the left, you got single mag DPS, aka burst DPS, and on the right, you got sustained DPS. And you can see that aside from Coriola's Force, high impacts do the worst DPS out of any standard fusion archetype. Rapid fires do the most, especially with controlled bursts, as you can see, plus they aren't slow as molasses. So in my 100% honest truth opinion, the Glacioclasm is not worth farming, despite how appealing the rolls might appear. As a dedicated fusion main, I'm still going to grab that PvP roll if I can, just to humor it for a game or two before throwing it in my vault for eternity, but if you're not a fusion main, don't bother. And that about does it for all 6 weapons. Which ones are you the most excited to get? Let me know in the comments. For me personally, it's the Albedo Wing, which I already got, so next I'm definitely prioritizing the Mistral Lift because I'm confident linears will be meta again at some point. Then next I'll be going for that Lone Wolf kill clip Stay Frosty with max range. I think that's going to be a monster in PvP. And then I don't care about the rest, honestly. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope this has helped you out. If it did, then maybe you can help me out in return by hitting the like button. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more content on the way. And remember to check out our sponsor, Advanced GG, code Maven at checkout for 10% off your order, link down below. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.